and trying to see what I can see with my naked eye. I might even have a magnifying glass there, I'm not sure. On the right is the fact that I've always enjoyed telling people about stuff I've found. There I am, boring the pants off my sister. I don't know what it is I've noticed, but whatever it is, it's obviously very, very interesting. So, in conclusion, I've been interested in small stuff since I got my first microscope at about the age of 9. I've been interested in telling people about what I've found since, what was I there? 3, perhaps? Anyway, no matter. Let's move on to today's topic, is an advanced organizer, as they call it. For some reason, it always looks like it should have a D, advanced organizer, but no, advanced organizer. Things for you to look out for as we go along. So, Guayaguayare Bay is at the extreme southeast of the island of Trinidad. It's what's called a logarithmic spiral bay because of its shape. It's sheltered at one end by Galeota Point, and at the other end by, I believe it's Point Cayo, but very, very smooth bay. It's within what we call the Orinoco Plume. The Orinoco Plume is where the Orinoco is, so it's the world's 4th largest river. I think it's grossly underrated. The world's 4th largest river in terms of freshwater outflow, and it is full of junk and nutrients and bits of plant, floating dead hogs, you name it, it's there, all providing nutrients, which is not the sort of stuff that that coral likes, which is really the topic of this talk. Within Guayaguayare Bay, there is a seagrass bed. It's a species, for those who like species names, and Shalise is going to tell you later how we choose a species name. It's called Haliduli wrightii. It's the closest seagrass meadow to the Orinoco Delta. There is a little bit of northwest Trinidad, but let's ignore that because it's the closest to the main delta outlet. I was given some samples taken in 2005. When I looked at them, I found coral rubble. 2 possibilities were that humans had put it there. Well, I discounted that because there was just too much of it and it was too widespread. And I also found lots of dead Foraminifera, microscopic creatures that were also unexpected and covered a range of environments in a very predictable pattern. So behind the reef, between the reef and the coastline, I found a thing called Discobis rosea. Where the reef itself was, I found a thing called Amphistigena gibosa with its good friend Quinquiloculina bicostata. I really should have put some of these in the introduction. That would have floored Javed. And the age of the reef, well, I don't know. I didn't have the funds at the time for doing any carbon dating, so all I can suggest is somewhere around about 6,000 years or younger. So let me introduce you to some forams. Well, I'll show you some pictures to begin with, to show you how beautiful they are. Jackie's here doing something. I don't know what she just did, but no matter. I hope you can still hear me. Introduction to forams. Well, we've got some pictures there. The big one with lots of specimens was not taken by me. That was stolen from the internet. The other one, Vulvulina spinosa, that was taken by me. But forams are single-celled. I think for most people it's easiest if you imagine a sort of shelled amoeba. They are mostly very small, so they're smaller than about 1/3 of a millimetre across, so you need a fairly high-powered microscope to see them. There are about 4,000 living species, which, most of which live on the sea floor, but a few of them are planktonic. They float around in the water. Those that float, this is only a very, very general rule, and Mike and Sadie would shoot me down for saying this, but those that float I tend to think of as looking like, I don't know, like popcorn. So if we look on the extreme right-hand side, you'll see a thing with 4 chambers looking like a piece of popcorn that's been exploded. That's a planktonic one. All the others are benthics. The one that looks like an eye, Spiraloculina to its friends, that is something that actually lives on plants rather than on the seafloor. They are testate, which means they've got a shell of, not quite, the terms aren't interchangeable. Testate means it's got a skeleton, but it's surrounded by cytoplasm. But no matter, when the thing dies, it fossilizes. The amoeba doesn't. The amoeba doesn't have a shell. That just rots. The good old forams, they're fossilized to give a fossil record, which means we can use them for all manner of things. Knowing that evolution occurs, we can say if we found this species, we know it evolved then, we know it went extinct then, so the rock is of this age. If we've used it to determine the age, we've done what's called biostratigraphy. On the other hand, I've done some of this already with you. We can use them to tell the environment, the palaeoenvironment. So I told you that Spiraloculina there lives on plants rather than on the seafloor. Well, if I find Spiraloculina, then I happen to know that there were plants, seagrasses, seaweeds in the vicinity. The test can be either precipitated, a little cell busy pumping out calcium carbonate usually, or it can be agglutinated. It can be sand grains stuck together, which is why I included my vulvulina at the bottom there, because that one is agglutinated. You can just about make out the minute silt grains that it's used. So let's talk about their ecology. I'm not going to be talking biostratigraphy today. It's not my bestest thing. Don't tell anybody I said that. Let's talk a little bit about the ecology. Well, forams have got very narrow ecological niches. In other words, they've got a very set collection of environmental conditions in which they live. If the conditions aren't right, it can't survive. Some of them are infaunal. They like to burrow into sediment. And I don't know if you've ever had this wonderful experience of burrowing into mud. If you do, you'll find that there's a nice oxygenated layer at the top, usually brownish. And below that, it turns dark grey to black, where there's very little oxygen, but lots and lots of food. And there are some forams that really appreciate that. They go delving down into that, sort of sucking in bits of organic carbon and having a thoroughly good time. Epifaunal ones, we used to say they live on the sediment, on the sea floor. Now we accept that epifaunal forams can live within that top oxygenated layer, so they can live down to about 1 centimetre depth in the sediment. The infauna, I wouldn't want to guess how deep they can go. Certainly several tens of centimetres. And then we've got the epiphytes, the ones that live on the plants, on the seagrasses. They are my favourites. They are the things on which I did my PhD. It's wonderful that I get to come back to my PhD topic for this talk. So on the right there, we have a picture of some epiphytes, epiphytal forams. Right in the middle is a heterostigina. You may say, well, it just looks like a disc to me. Well, I can see lots of little chain bullets in there, all arranged in a spiral that's getting bigger as the spiral goes around. So heterostigina. And next to that, we've got lit up to the top right, left, right, yeah, can't tell the difference. To the top right, we have a couple of specimens of Amphistogina, or Amphistogina, depending on what pronunciation you prefer. All nicely backlit by sunlight, which is very important to them because they need the sun, because they eat things like diatoms and other algae, but they don't eat the entire thing. They harvest the chloroplasts, and they keep the chloroplasts nice and safe and well looked after and well lit. So the chloroplasts don't think anything unusual's happened. They just carry on doing their photosynthetic thing, pumping out sugars, which the forams then use for food. There are a couple of other beasties in there, but I don't think I'll worry with those for the moment. But there we are. Some ecology of benthic forams. So let's see. The Orinoco plume. I've talked a little bit about that already. The Orinoco plume. Whenever I put up this picture, Papa Halleck usually giggles quite loudly because I stole it. I stole it from her university, University of South Florida, because it shows most clearly to me what the Orinoco plume is like. We've got Venezuela. For those who know their North and South American geography, we've got Venezuela going right across to Lake Maracaibo. Towards the left of the bluish map, we've got Trinidad. And then we've got the Caribbean Sea going right out to Puerto Rico and Hispaniola. And this is taken during the rainy season, the South American rainy season. So there's lots of water coming out of the Orinoco and to some extent out of the Amazon. The Amazon water is that orange, yellow, green strip you can see coming up the side of South America on the right-hand side. And then we've got Trinidad, and then we've got the plume covering a huge part of the Eastern Caribbean Sea. The Orinoco water, well, that goes up through a gap between Trinidad and South America, goes through what's called the Gulf of Paria, whereas the Amazon water, that goes up the right-hand side, the eastern side of Trinidad, and the two then meet again on the northern side of Trinidad. I've written stuff about northern Trinidad, but that's not the topic of this talk. What I would like you to notice is that around the nutrient-rich bit, the bit with the orange and the yellow, which is all measuring the reflectance of chlorophyll in the water, around that we have this green rim where things aren't as rich. It's sort of fading from being nutrient-rich to nutrient-poor, from what we call eutrophic, which would be the red stuff, to oligotrophic, which would be the blue stuff. And we've got this green rim, which is somewhere between the two. But I want you to notice, peer in, lean into your computer screen. I can't have to unfortunately see you doing this. I like to see noses right up against the screen, please. There's a tiny green blip to the south, to the southeast of Trinidad, right where Orinoco and Amazon water are meeting. Thoroughly unexpected that. I'm very excited when I saw it. And it means something. It means that there is an offshore front. A bit like a weather front between warm and cold water. Well, this is between the very nutrient-rich Amazon water and the super-rich Orinoco water. Sort of never the twain shall meet. I did a study using ostracods of that area, where I found that I would have expected ostracod distributions to have been arrayed parallel to the depth contours, but they weren't. They cut across it. And that is because the front between the Orinoco and the Amazon is also cutting across it. I was very excited when I found that. Yeah, it then seemed to die a death, but no matter. But that is the Orinoco plume, the nutrients, and the Eastern Caribbean Sea. So, a little bit about coral reefs and their environment, because we're going to need those. On the right, well, no, let's start at the left, where we have mangroves. Mangroves are lovely environments to work in. You lied. The world record for the 100-meter dash through a mangrove swamp is 10 minutes and 33 seconds. Well, that makes doing field work in mangroves very challenging, so I haven't done a great deal. I farmed that off to a graduate student called Ashley Costello. Yeah. But between the mangroves, we've got an offshore reef, and then we've got what we call the back reef, sandy back reef, which is where we get grasses, seagrasses growing. There is, in the area I was looking at, between the mangroves and the seagrasses, there was a beast called Pararotalia sarmientoi, which was very common. The seagrasses themselves, well, they support epiphytes. Discorbis rosea, this wonderful, wonderful creature, which is pink, hence its name, rosea. One of the first forams to be described from the West Indies. A lot of these you'll find were described in 1839, when a gentleman in France, Alcide Daubigny, was sent a couple of jars full of West Indian beach sand and described and named everything that he could in it. So, Discorbis rosea. On the reef proper, we get a thing called Amphistygina gibbosa, which, when it's live, I couldn't find a live picture, I'm afraid. When it's live and healthy, it's green because of the chloroplasts it's ingested. Unfortunately, a lot of them are dying off at the moment. The quality of light is changing and the quality of water is changing. There are terraces within the forereef, flat areas, rather than the sort of bulgier point of the reef proper. And those terraces support, and filters from the internet, support a lot of colloquialine and biocostar. That was based on a study taken of northern Brazil. I also found a lot of Textilaria candiana in my samples. The only other place I found it abundantly is in St. Kitts, in a place called Sandbank Bay. And I had to conclude that it was living on the reef and being washed in. Yeah, but it's there, And I've shown you a picture of it. So you've got lots of different shapes, lots of different colours, lots of different environments. The seagrass living in the back reef, Halidula wrightii, that's the most hardy of the seagrasses. It can withstand really quite tough conditions in terms of pollutants and in terms of water clarity. So it's the first one you'd expect to appear as environments improve, and the last one you'd expect to be wiped out as environments went off. So let me take you on to, how am I doing for time? Ooh, it's that time already. Get move on, Brent. Let me take you on to what I did. Well, there's some maps. Guayaguayare Bay, you can see picked out in blue on the map to the left, where I've also got Venezuela. The Boca Grande is the main outlet from the Orinoco Delta. And you can see there about, if we stretch things, maybe 150 kilometers away. Not a vast difference when you look at the distance, when you look at the scale of the Orinoco plume in general. So what happened? Well, some samples were taken. I was never told the depth of these things. I was only told that they were taken between 5 and 20 meters water depth. Well, I can basically make out on the top right, I can basically make out a line of samples, which I generally presumed were the ones at 20 meters water depth. And then there's a line going along the coast, which I'm going to say about the 5 meters water depth. The samples came to be stained with a thing called rose Bengal, which wonderful, wonderful stuff. It used to be given to babies to check that their digestive was working properly, because it stains lipids, fats, bright red. So if a forearm happens to be alive, it turns bright red. If it's dead, then all you're left with is an unstained shell. So they were stained, washed over 63 micron mesh, and about 300 forams picked from every single sample. Oh, that's a lovely job, I can tell you. You have to go learn to meditate to do that. And then they were picked in, sorted into their different species, and the whole thing was entered on an Excel spreadsheet, and I worked out what was where. A little note came about the Halidula wrightii, saying where the seagrass was to be found at that time. That's shaded in green on that top right-hand map. Well, I look at the distribution of foraminiferal burial assemblages. Well, they were quite discrete. Looking at my map, I can see there is a sort of pinkish area in the shallow water where I found the sarmientoi between the mangrove-rich shore and the offshore. Then we have the green, that sort of lime green, what a green I chose there, which is where I found the back reef with the Discobis rosea. Not a perfect match to the wrightii bed as it is at the moment, but I'm not too worried about it. It's not that far. I mean, there could have been a little bit of transport of specimens, but there it is, the back reef. The purplish area that had Amphistogona and the Textilaria candiana, which is the top reef, the reefal area. And then sample GB14, sort of magenta-ish, is a reef terrace utterly dominated by Quinquilochia bicostata. In other words, this got me really excited. I have all the elements of a working coral reef system in Guayaguayare Bay, 150 kilometers from the Orinoco Delta, where I would not have expected the thing to have been at all. So, the unexpected significance thereof. I know we all think, ooh, Bucco Reef, Toco, areas much further north. Well, here we have one. It was just lurking about, waiting for somebody to find it in Guayaguayare Bay. So, not all coral reef forams were found. Something I've done a lot of work on islands throughout the Caribbean between Bequia and St. John. I know pretty much what is common in coral reefs and where. This thing, Archaeus angulatus, was not there at all. Symbolaporetus squaminosa, I found, I think, 2 specimens, and not a single Rosalina floridana. And in other places, these are really very common. So why not? Why were they not found here? Well, all I can think is that the water is perhaps a bit too nutrient rich for them, that we really need areas where they can make more use of, certainly in the case of the Archaeus, more use of symbionts. But maybe it's just too cloudy for them to, whatever it was, don't know, have to admit, pleading ignorance, but there's a suggestion, a hypothesis for somebody to test at some point. How old is the reef? Well, that is a curve that shows sea levels over the last 24,000 years. The end of the Ice Age we generally take as being about 11,000 years old. But you can see that sea level rose. It wasn't a very smooth curve. There are a couple of steps in it that are marked, especially when we look around Barbados, that the ice caps melted and sea level rose. And then they stopped melting for a while and sea level remained constant. And then it rose again, and then sea level remained constant, and then it's risen to our present level of 0 meters and going upwards. We're getting into positive figures right now. Well, let's do a little bit of logic here. The seagrasses need light. They need to be in fairly shallow water. I'm going to suggest perhaps 10 meters at most. And then the epiphytal forams will be able to move in. The coral reefs themselves, well, they can live rather deeper. I'm not going to put a limit on that. I've found corals live around St. Kitts down to about 55 meters. But putting the whole thing together suggests to me that we're looking at an age there of round about 7,500 to 8,000 years old. I didn't find any live coral forams at all. The system is dead, so when it died off, I don't know. Seem to be a lot of apologies in this talk. I'm sorry, I don't know. But it has been there, it did live, and it has left its mark. There's something else I was going to say about this curve, but it temporarily... Oh, I've lost it. Sorry, my brain does that nowadays. Anyway, let's move on. I think I've got the main thing. We've all seen everything that's in the advanced organizer. We've all learned how the ice caps melted, and we've found a coral reef where we shouldn't have found one. So let me give some acknowledgements. Now I could talk for ages on these alone. Let me just pick out a few. David Rollinson helped me when I started work on Nevis. I was doing absolute bare bones study in which my samples were taken in mayonnaise jars. So between the two of us, we ate 6 mayonnaise jars full of mayonnaise every month. So he deserves a big round of applause for his clogged arteries. Biostrat Associates allowed me to wash their samples before I got facilities at the university. Prof. Dorr, Wayne Bertrand and Gail, they allowed me, they managed to keep the admin away from me. They realized I wanted to do research, so they kept me free of admin, which allowed me to concentrate on it. Unfortunately, that fell apart a bit after Gail, and I wasn't able to do as much. Prof. Jupiter and the ministry gave me research funds. Yay! Spent those. The editors at Journal of Foreign Research, I was only a little guy at a little university in what I call a developing world, but they had faith in me to be an editor. Wow, brilliant. And then Leanne Hayek and I became friends, proper friends, real friends, friends who'll talk about anything. And she also helps me with statistics because I can't do that. I don't do statistics. Philip and Chantel, oh, lots of discussions. Xavier, core samples. Once I moved to Wales, the staff at the Cardigan Bay Marine Wildlife Centre, especially Gemma Woodford, listened to me talk for hours about what I was finding on Trinidad. The Geological Society of Trinidad and Tobago, they allowed me to give a talk occasionally, about one every semester. So I got to tell everybody about what I found. It was wonderful. Doing research is great. For a while you get to say, I know something you don't know, but then the real fun comes when you tell people about it. And then in super bold, big letters, Jackie. There has to be Jackie. Jackie, oh, she was so supportive. She still is. You saw the way she nips in and out, taking care of me, keeping me on the right track. Well, I spent many, many hours in the evening away at the microscope. I would be away with Philip and Chantel for many days doing field work, and hours spent at the office. I think what comes across from all of this is my name gets to be put on the paper, but there's a huge group of people behind me whose names are never given the prominence that they should. Well, here I am acknowledging you. Thank you very much for all your help. Couldn't have done it, I believe, without any one of you. And now, I don't know when Javed is thinking of questions. I've bunged up this slide anyway, just to say that my experience on Trinidad was very much a reflection of my early childhood, which scared the pants off me. here I am on a whirly-girly giggery thing with my sister who looks bored stiff. I am scared stiff. Well, that was like Trinidad, going round and round in circles, wondering what was going to happen next. Look at this photo. I noticed in the background there's a girl looking at me. She looks very concerned. Yeah, oh, that was a missed opportunity. I should have proposed marriage as soon as the thing stopped. Oh, that would have been good. Anyway, that's me. That's my talk. I will now, I believe, I don't know what I do now. I will wait for other people to come back, I think. Hello, Javed, you're still there. Oh, well done. I'll hand back to you. Okay?
Thank you very much, Prof. That was very educational, very entertaining, I think, as well. So does anybody have any questions for Professor Brent on his talk?
I think that's okay.
And if no one has any questions, you guys can go ahead and ask the questions. But if nobody has any questions, Shaliza is going to not give an entire talk, but I think she has volunteered to spend about 2 or 3 minutes talking about something that she and Brent worked on together, and very interesting new fossil. Shaliza, if you're there, you could jump on.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So Prof really wanted me to give a talk on a new trace fossil that we found in the Moruga Formation. I don't know if I can share my screen. Give me a second. Yeah. It's a new trace fossil that we found in the Moruga Formation called Eripicnus piculensis, but I'm not gonna go into any details about this trace fossil today because I just feel like today is Brent's day. So if you're interested in hearing more about this, we can have another GSTT talk on another day, and I can give you all the details. I just want to say thank you to Prof for everything that he did to help me through my PhD research, and including discovering this new fossil. And I see that Sadie and Said and Ashley are all on the call as well, and I know they'll have similar sentiments because Prof was there alongside them for their PhD research as well. And Javed, I know you have some memories and pictures of Prof to share, so I'm going to let you do that because I see we only have like 15 minutes left.
Thank you very much, Shaliza. So guys, what we're going to do is I'm going to share my screen. That some of you all submitted some pictures, some memories with Brent, and I'll just scroll through them pretty quickly, and anybody who wants to add anything can feel free to unmute their mic and go right ahead. So if you just let me know if you see my screen. And the first actual is from Auntie June. And Auntie June, I think, is on the call, and she left some really nice memories, a really nice message for Brent. Auntie June, would you like to say anything at this point?
I think I've said it all already in the little the text that I sent. Just very, very proud, very proud. Been an absolute wonderful nephew. I have to say that because he's the only one I've got. So I can't really.
All right, thank you.
I can't compare him with anybody else, but then I wouldn't want to. He's absolutely the most precious thing.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to, there's quite a few pictures. I'm just going to scroll through them pretty quickly. And Brent, I'll send you this afterwards anyway, so you can go through it at your leisure.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
So we have
would you like to put it in presenter mode?
Yeah, which one is presenter mode?
The one to the left of the Zoom bar, bottom right screen.
Is that
bottom right?
Bottom right. Go bottom right.
Yes,
no, go in, go in, go
yeah.
in. First, like, yep, that.
Yes, I did press that one, but I don't think it's sharing that one. So give me a second. Let me see if I get the right one sharing. Is that better,
yes,
guys?
Thanks.
Yes.
All right,
Perfect.
great. So this one was from your class, one of your classes in 2017. Mikkel, I think that's you, right? That's your class.
Yes, it does.
Good. Brent and Philip Fafa, and I think this picture was done by Krishna Prasad, picture in 2017. There's some some words here from a couple of us. Somebody that John Webb is a big fan of your shirts, Brent. I'll send this to you as well. This is from Tasha from my class actually. This picture was around 2009. When you went to the mangroves actually, I believe. I guess this is from Sophie, one of your friends. You guys singing on stage. I found this one from elections of the GSTT in 2014 to 2015. Some more memories from a couple persons here. Cassie submitted this. I don't know if Cassie's on the line, but Cassie submitted this one and some notes for you as well. This was back in 2009, 2010, the GSTT executive. I don't know how many of these guys are on the call right now, but here you guys are looking really nice back then. More with you singing, Brad. I don't know if you remember this, 2017 in Maruga.
Oh, with King Eric. Yes, I remember that.
That's the guy, yes. Jamie submitted this one with you guys as well. Shaliza sent in this one. You look like really nice picture in Yui. I don't know what the occasion was.
It was a farewell party that the graduate students put on for me. A surprise party. We played a game where they blindfolded, pinned the tail on the donkey. Well, they got one, pinned the hair on Brent. Wonderful.
And this was my class actually. One of them from our class submitted this one. I mean, it's a blurry picture, but their cameras weren't as great than back then in 2010 or so. So this was all of us. And this is you, Jackie, Shaliza, and Annalise. I don't know what year this was, Shaliza, but the really nice picture. I assume for some Christmas party.
I think that was 2016, either 2015 or 2016 Christmas party in Geoscience, yeah.
Very nice. This was just a couple of years ago when the Geoscience program turned 20 and Brent gave a special talk. Yeah. And by the way, I think Professor Doe is somewhere on the line. I don't know if he would like to say anything, but I did see him at some point earlier. Brent, one of your classes again here. Some of your students. Field trip from like 10 years ago.
Yes, when they were building a new highway, yeah.
And I think this should be about 2017 GSTT executive. Some of these guys are here as well. And I think that might be the last slide. Yeah. So does anybody want to put up their hand and say anything additional? Steve.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Brent. It's so nice to see you.
Thank you, Saidi.
I'm really glad to see you. You look really well. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for your guidance and mentorship in Benthic Foraminifera. It's taught me a lot, and now I'm learning about Benthic Foraminifera. So I'm trying to expand. And I just wanted to say I'm sending all of my love to you from Switzerland.
Thank you. I remember your face when I asked you to do, your face just dropped when I asked you to do the review of the Miocene of the Caribbean. I think that has probably stood in really good stead because you now know how to fight with the literature. But
yes,
honestly, if looks could have killed, I tripped out of that room. But glad to see you've moved on to such a big and important place. Yeah, well done, Sadie.
Thanks, Prof.
And thank you, Michael, for taking her on. Nice to know somebody
It
else
is.
has got the. It's nice to know somebody else has got the problem of the killer looks. Yes.
It's just a pleasure.
You don't say anything else. Okay. Anyway, moving on.
So yeah, does anyone else want to add anything to this? By the way, Brent, the talk has been recorded. I'll send you the recording as well as the slides. We'll make the talk available for anybody who couldn't be here. But yeah, anybody else on the line wants to add any comments?
Sure, good day. Hi, Prof. Kellan here, Kellan Hodge.
Hello.
I didn't go the way of paleontology, but I think some of my fondest memories from the geoscience program when we did the internship. I think that was at the end of my first year, and we collected some samples in the Coroni River. So I remember we went out on a boat in one of the tributaries, and unfortunately we got stuck. The boat was a little stalled, and Brent was there, most common, and we waited a while until another boat came to kind of get us out of trouble. And it was only when we got back to you, Brent was secretly terrified, but he tried to keep a brave face for all of us. But nonetheless, it was really fun, a great experience. And I think professionally, I learned a lot from you as well that I continue to take on in my current role. So thanks for the lessons, the experiences, and a great time at the geoscience program.
Kellan, I well remember the occasion because it wasn't until we were going back that I started pointing out to you the caiman, the huge caiman, lined up on the banks of the river. And oh God, yeah, I wondered if I was going to be taking back a student with one leg or something like that, but no. When it came time for somebody to shove, I pushed you over the edge saying you were the tallest. Yeah. Lecturers are too valuable. You go and do it. Yeah. So, good fun.
It's good fun. Yeah.
Is there anyone else? Brent, by the way, this talk has probably had the highest amount of attendees for the entire year for the GSTT, so thank you again.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. It's lovely to be fondly, well, I assume I'm fondly remembered. I don't know. Are people tuning in to watch for me make mistakes?
Yes.
Yeah, they would, wouldn't they? Yes, yeah. Here's a list of mistakes. Get it right next time.
So any last calls, guys, for any last memories, any last things that you guys want to ask, find out anything specific about any forums?
Do we have anybody here who came to the university after I left? Somebody who I wouldn't have taught?
There definitely are some people. Yeah, there are some.
Well, I'd just like to say hi. I'm dreadfully sorry that I didn't get to teach you. I loved lecturing, but unfortunately my health caught up with me. I've been asked if I will make, this is completely off the topic. Gentlemen, we have a part of our body down there that is not always friendly to us, our prostates. Please go and get it checked. It's just a little, oh, how much can I say? It's been recorded. What the hell? It's somebody sticks a finger up your bum and has a feel round and says, yeah, you're healthy or you're not. But believe me, it's worth doing. I was tested 21 years ago now, and it's been a wonderful 21 years that I might not have had I not been tested. Please don't be so manly about it that it's beneath you. Well, it's just beneath you. I'm sitting down, it's beneath me. But do go and get yourself checked. Yeah.
Really appreciate that, Brent. Good advice.
Thank you. Not what you'd expect at the end of the lecture, but yeah, okay.
Take it as an HSC
Equally,
moment.
yeah, equally as important.
It's equally as important, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my aunt just gave up. A bit too much for her.
Brent, I think being the first class out of the geoscience program in 2004, I think you taught us in our second year or third year or something like that.
Yeah, second year.
Yeah, because we had a biostratigraphy lecturer before you.
Oh yes, the one who I will not name. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember you're really good in class and everything was understood. But when it came to writing your exams, you marked pretty hard. Like everything was fine. I could answer everything in class, but like, why is the exam marked so hard?
Oh.
I passed, thankfully.
Because I wanted the oil industry to have faith in you. There would have been an external examiner as well, and the oil industry would have seen the questions that I was asking, and they would have given them the okay. They wouldn't have wanted you to get
easy marks.
Yes, because they needed to have faith in you, and I was the only one who could do that. Yeah, so my apologies. I know I got I got a lot of long faces when my exam marks came out, but it really was in your own best interests. Also, remember, I got 16 people who were outside of medicine with the top brains in the Caribbean. And I had to stretch you. Otherwise, you would have been bored stiff. So it was a way of keeping you occupied and making the course rewarding. If I can add a little sort of anecdote here, I know I'm about to run over time, but I was the first geoscience lecturer that most of the students would encounter in their course. They'd go away on that first Monday and they'd have, what was it, chemistry or mathematics or something like that. And they'd come in and they'd say, oh God, my head hurts already. And then they met me. Yay. And a lot of them came with a very religious background. And, creationism had been sort of instilled in them, which just does not fit with finding oil and gas. So my very first question was, I love this. It was such a torment on my part. When God created Adam, at what point did he give him naughty bits? The bits down there. Well, there was no Eve, so why would he have need them? Were they a toy to play with when he got bored? And kids would look horrified. And how could I say this? And then I get them lining themselves up in geological age, and we decide that, yes, it didn't really make sense. And then having messed with your heads to such an extent, I then sent you home to tell your parents. Oh, I would have loved to be a fly on that wall. By the way, when did God give Adam testicles? Oh. Lovely. Oh, I was such a cruel. You might have enjoyed it. At times I was just cruel. I admit it. Anyway, that's my little anecdote. You would have missed that, Therese, because I didn't get to do that. You got the other lecturer instead. Yeah.
All right, so guys, we almost finished. I don't know, I saw some persons pop on their camera. Do you guys want to add anything before we go? No, Said said no. Everybody's all good. Brent, is there anything else you want to add?
Just I had a wonderful time. And it's been great to be in touch. Through Facebook, I'm still in touch with a great many students. And I do appreciate the messages when they come. A few send me emails from time to time. Once again, much appreciated. It was a great experience. It was all one big adventure to me, and I loved it, and you all made it very worthwhile. So thank you.
And thank you very much. Take care, everybody. Thank you all very much for coming out. Yeah. Till next time.
Love you, Brent.
Thank you, June.
Mm.
Good to see you, Xavier.